Hello, everybody, and welcome to our very first full session of the Glassbreakers Guild. We're going to introduce you now to the full cast of characters. We are only short one. She is on her way. She will be here momentarily. But these wonderful people are my good friends and family, and we are here to invite you in to our D&D sessions. This is the very first session of our new campaign. We are running through Tomb of Annihilation. Now, if you've got the book, don't crucify me too much because I'm not going to necessarily follow it beat for beat for beat, and I'm not going to necessarily follow it all the way through as it's written. I'm very much a homebrew kind of guy. I'm going to add stuff. I'm going to take stuff away. I'm going to make it our own game.
Can I get an amen?
So, yes. So we're going to have some fun here. We do have some house rules in effect. We'll get to those as we go. We do also have some custom classes in effect. We'll get to those as we go. But for starters, we're going to introduce the players. For those of you who weren't here for the first two session zeros we ran last week, we're going to start over here on my left with Steven.
Hi, I'm Pyre. I'm a Genasi wizard.
Behind him is...
I'm Jordan. I play Kai Ho, the Dishonored Ronin.
Again, that is going to be a custom class. Yes. It is a custom subclass for a custom class. So if you want details for that, those will be forthcoming.
Yeah, I will provide those.
Yeah, we'll get you a link for those guys at a later date.
Any feedback.
Feedback, please.
The other gentleman speaking up on that is also playing the same class, a different subclass, and this is going to be Seth.
I'm Seth. I'll be playing Hadrian, Asmar Slayer Dark Warden.
So the Asmar obviously is an expansion race from Volo's Guide. The other bits are homebrew stuff, and we'll get you details on that. Next to Seth is Danny, also known as Lord Scritch the Goodly, for those of you who follow her on her creative stream.
Follow me.
Actually, we would love a follow for this channel as well, guys. This is going to be a lot of fun. We hope you enjoy it. Next to Danny, also a creative streamer. This is Griffin XX Demon, also known as Kyrie.
So I'm playing a Tabaxi rogue.
Slash Bard.
Bard.
So she's the one to keep it. She's the one to look out for.
Yeah.
She's the one to look out for.
And her name is Bright.
Awesome,
I
Bright
forgot
Paw.
to introduce my character.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Sorry. I am Sploof the Great and Powerful, and I
Also
am
known as Sploof the Mighty.
Yes, Sploof the Mighty, and Sploof the many things, and I am a Goblin Necromancer.
Yes. So next to Kyrie there is yet another Twitch streamer, although he's still getting started, much like myself. This is Nate, also known as Nova Flagabloof.
Hi, I'm Nate Nova, and I will be playing a dwarf bard, and my character's name is Meyer Veranos. He is the almost chosen one.
We're gonna have fun with that, guys. We're gonna have a lot of fun with that. We're gonna have so much fun with this campaign. Next to Nate is our good friend Lance.
I'm Lance. I play Gideon Blackthorn, a multi-class warlock fighter.
And last but certainly not least, well, for the moment, is our good friend Braden.
Hi, I'm Braden. I also go by Scarce the Owl. I've been in Lord Scritch the Goodly's chat sometimes.
Yeah, that's Scarfs the Owl at a more non-ludicrous speed.
I am playing Elias Bloodstone, the Hill Dwarf archaeologist.
With the speech impediment.
Well, I was going through Sean Connery, but my own
So
speech
so Braden
impediment
is
has
making
bled
use
through.
of Braden is making use of Matt Mercer's custom class, the Blood Hunter. So you
Yes.
guys are feel free to take a look at that and
Pay
follow
for
along.
it if you like it.
Pay for it if you like it. Absolutely support those guys. I'm a huge fan. We are all huge fans of Critical Role.
That's
Kind of inspired what we're doing here. And so having a Blood Hunter here, having the custom classes here, having some of the expanded stuff from D&D is super, super awesome, and I am not paid at all to say that kind of stuff. That being said, wish we were.
If you
Wish
would
we
like
were.
to pay us to say those things.
Exactly.
Totally wish we were.
If you would like a promotion,
They were sponsored by Lay's Chips.
That being said, we are about ready to get started now. We do have one more player on the way. We'll make an introduction of her when she shows up. That being said, it is time to get started here in our run through Tomb of Annihilation.
Quick question, Keith.
yes.
Are we going to do inspiration tokens?
I don't have them, so for this,
Chips
right where?
By your TV.
Next to the TV.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So
Okay.
if you wanna,
There's
Two per person?
two each? or one?
2 each. You may need some extras.
Okay.
Oh, I forgot how
In which case,
We give each other.
Here.
So
skills.
just to
Give them-
explain
can't
to
use them
everyone,
unless it's been given.
we're using an inspiration thing where each of us get 2 tokens that we can give to different players depending on if we like how they role play or
we
something
can't
cool
use
that
our
they
own
did.
tokens.
Yes, we can't use our own tokens, so use these to give to other people. I shall pass it out as you can give me your.
Absolutely. So we are about to get started here with the Glassbreakers Guild, and that is a long in story. We will tell you guys about it later. I'm
Or never.
sure.
Never.
Or never. Probably never. Now that I think about it, but we will definitely get into that as we go. So you all find yourself in the city of Port Nyanzuru, the only bastion of civilization on the entire continent of Schult. It is a continent of jungles. It is a continent of dinosaurs. It is a continent of wild and crazy things. Things that people in the north haven't seen before, have no experience with. And you've all been drawn here for a single reason. Somewhere in this vast continent is the source of a world-spanning curse. It is the death curse. Those who have died since it began cannot be returned to life. Those who died and were returned to life before it began have begun to waste away. And all of you, whether by chance or by choice through your life, have tasted death and have been revived from it.
Suicide.
And so you all are under the death curse. We're going to start with Kyrie, because we haven't had a chance to meet her particular character yet.
And she looks festive.
And she looks festive, yes. So October. October, very, very festive.
yep.
Yes.
So Kyrie, Brightpaw, you are a native of these lands. You were driven from your home for reasons best not investigated too closely. But you found yourself in the city of Port Nyanzuru, and you found your way to a troupe of performers, and you found a calling with them as an acrobat and a tightrope walker. Your specialty was performing high over the streets of Port Nyanzuru as the dinosaur races were being held below you in the streets. This particular day was not all that unusual. Your tightrope is in place. You've checked it a dozen times. You're ready to go. All you're waiting for is the proper moment. You're waiting for the race to get started. You're waiting for the thundering beasts to come down the street as you pass over them overhead, awing the crowd and earning a few coins for yourself and your employer. This particular day, you find yourself out over the streets, balanced perfectly at one with the cable beneath your feet, when something goes wrong. You're not real sure what. Maybe you lost your balance. Maybe it was a stray gust of wind. Maybe you got distracted for that fraction of a second it took for you to lose your footing and fall from your tightrope. Now, unlike most tightrope walkers, you don't use a harness. You don't use a safety net. You have nowhere to go but the street. And so you feel yourself crash into the cobblestones as you land. And then a split second later, you feel the thundering feet of dinosaurs as they trample your body.
Oh, we had our first player death.
And the next thing you remember is waking up to the ministrations of a passing cleric. A kindly old woman who revives you, brings you back to life, and tells you in no uncertain terms that what you're doing on that rope is foolhardy and you should probably find a new line of work. All of these thoughts pass through your memory as you're standing there on the street corner and you watch another tabaxi bard, another tightrope walker, fall off of her rope into the street to be trampled. You, much like most of the crowd, rush forward to see if there is anything that can be done. Unfortunately, she's passed. Her spirit is gone. It has left her body. And despite the fact that there are, in fact, 2 clerics in attendance, they cannot revive her. The death curse has claimed another victim.
There was 300 gold worth of diamonds.
Yeah.
What a waste.
Make a perception roll.
Alright. 15.
15, okay. In addition to the usual suspects that you would find on the streets of Port Nyanzaru, there are a couple of very unusual people, to say the very
Oh, you
least.
don't say.
Most of the denizens of this city are fairly dark-skinned. Comes from a life in the sun. Some of them are obviously kissed by the sun and darkened that way. Some of them just have a darker complexion naturally. There are mostly humans. There are a few tabaxi around, so your kind is not all that unusual. And there are dwarves around, although they tend to be albino dwarves. So the dwarf standing about a quarter of the way around the circle from you, who has almost a normal complexion, perhaps a little gray in the beard, a little gray at the temples, he stands out for being not normal. He's obviously not from this part of the world. Nate, that's you. What do you do?
I'm curious, so I'm going to make my way toward this door.
Make me a perception roll, sir.
Perception. 17.
All right. So there is one of the cat people that you've seen around. Since you arrived here in the port, you've seen a wide variety of cat people around. They're called tabaxi. They're not as normally seen in the north, but since you've gotten here, they are much more plentiful. And this particular one seems to have her eyes on you.
Ooh.
Would you guys care to describe yourselves?
Let's see. So obviously I'm a tabaxi. So I have the markings of a clouded leopard, and so it's like a darker, like a light brown with the darker brown spots, and I have a pretty fluffy tail. I walk on 2 legs, but can walk on 4 if I so choose.
If you need to.
And I have a performer's outfit.
Bright colors and
Hey.
stuff.
Yes.
Yes,
colors,
yes. And you, sir?
Well, I am a dwarf. So I stand a proud 5 foot 1 inch tall.
That's a tall dwarf. Very tall for a dwarf.
I think I'm pretty short too.
He's
Actually.
only like an inch shorter than me.
I think I'm like 5.
I am definitely the tallest out of my village. Very broad shoulders, long brown hair with subtle streaks of red and gray. I have a brown leather kilt, traditional style.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Decorated.
Pretty breezy.
Decorated with symbols from my hometown engraved into the leather. And with that, I have matching boots with also symbols engraved.
Okay. So Bright Paw, as you're making your way through the crowd, around the circle, around the unfortunate poor performer who has plummeted to her death, in addition to the dwarf, you also see another person of short stature, except she's about eye level with you because she happens to be riding an enormous spider. That would be Nyx. Nyx, you're also seeing sort of the crowd and seeing what's happening, and you're spotting some of the people that sort of stick out. The dwarf, for instance, sticks out a goodly bit. There seems to be this tabaxi that is kind of making her way that direction, and there are others that don't seem like they belong here.
And this is the tabaxi that I just saw.
This is the tabaxi you just saw fall to her death, yes.
No, this is a different tabaxi. The one that fell to her death is dead.
Well, that's where we left off last
Right.
time. As I said.
Yes. We are picking up exactly at that moment.
They look weird.
Everything looks weird.
That's true.
It is at this moment, of course, that the rain that has been pounding the streets suddenly and without warning lets up. As quickly as it came.
Thank goodness. As I'm like halfway done weaving Lance's hat, I'm like, that was a waste of time. But I keep going anyway.
So what are you doing?
I'm gonna run over to the now alive tabaxi.
Okay, so the tabaxi that you saw fall
It's dead.
Oh, is the
is
actual dead one. I
the
didn't
actual
see
dead
her
one.
fall.
You did not see her fall. We got her fall in flashback.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Well, I'm gonna go over there anyway.
Okay. So as you're approaching the dwarf, Brightpaw, you do also see this What, is that a deep gnome on a giant spider? Pushing its way through the crowd, pushing her way through the crowd towards you and your target.
I tilt my head a little.
What the freak?
And blink a few times and maybe flick my ears.
Would I have ever seen a tabaxi before?
Probably not.
Oh, okay.
They're rare enough in the north where you came from that you probably haven't had a chance to. And they're certainly very rare where you really come from.
That's true. So have I actually made progress enough to talk
Yes.
to you?
So at this point, you kind of all reach a clump about the same time.
Hi.
Wow, this is something you'll see every day.
Aren't you a little tall for a dwarf?
But a little short for a stormtrooper.
Yeah.
Don't sue us, Lucasfilm, please.
He doesn't know that. That's the problem.
Oh man.
So I'm new to this area. It looks like you guys don't really know your way around either.
I'm a local.
Oh,
I've
really?
been around.
You didn't happen to do that tightrope thing, did you?
Tightrope thing?
What tightrope thing?
Perhaps.
In the bright colors. What you're talking about?
So as the sun comes out,
It seems an unfortunate soul has certainly made a mistake of performing tightrope tricks over the dinosaur races
Very response in the pouring rain.
do that?
in the pouring rain. Would not advise.
1 out of 10 would not,
What happened?
1 out of 10.
would not attempt.
Right.
So as the rain is fading away, those of you who are not from around here, you are completely gobsmacked by the bright colors that are everywhere. Like all kinds of colors, every shade, every color of the rainbow, every shade of color. It's bright. It's an assault on the senses. The humidity after the rainstorm is not lessened at all. In fact, if anything, it's been kicked up just a couple of notches. It is still very, very warm. It is still very, very humid. Those of you who are used to the north are finding it quite stifling, in fact, being here. The people are just as wildly colored as the buildings that surround them. They wear bright colors. They are every shade of the rainbow can be found in their clothing. A lot of it is very tribal. A lot of it is decorated with gold and gemstones and feathers and flowers and just all kinds of decorations. It is very, very eclectic, the style that you're seeing around you. The buildings have the same colors applied to them. Most of them are made out of adobe pressed bricks. Some of them are stone, but most of them are mud bricks that have been manufactured here locally. There are terracotta tiles on a lot of the roofs. You see, those of you who are not familiar with the area, you see enormous collapsible basins of some kind, and as the storm is as the rainstorm is passing, many of them are being folded back up as though the water that they have caught and has been channeled deeper into the buildings that surround you.
So, in response to just all the color and amazing things, I say, "You see this, my friends? I have only seen such things in paintings.
And I am looking around quite impressed, and when he says that, I nod and let out a nice low whistle before sort of tugging at the collar of my armor and kind of loosening up so I could breathe a little bit better.
So Kai and Hadrian and Gideon, the three of you had actually been at one of the street corners watching trying to watch through the rain until the rain parted, trying to watch this dinosaur race that was stampeding through the streets of Port Nyanzuru. For a moment, in fact, you thought that beasts of burden had gotten loose and were rampaging through the town. Come to find out, upon asking the locals, you realize that it was, in fact, a semi-regular event, the running of the dinosaurs. That there is, betting that can and does take place on these things, wagering on who will win and who will perhaps get knocked from their mount. You're standing at the corner when the tabaxi plummets from her perch into the street. You feel almost the thud as she lands, and you hear the sickly crunches as she is stampeded and crushed. In the ensuing chaos, you do notice the clerics attempting to revive the poor woman and failing miserably. All of their magic seems to be useless in this case.
I'm going to be trying to hold people back, give them room.
Okay. In your holding back, you do happen to notice there is another tabaxi stalking through the crowd. There is a dwarf that seems wouldn't seem out of place in the north. But when you compare him to the other dwarves that you've seen in the crowd, he definitely stands out. Simply because he has color, whereas the rest of them do not. They are albino. And then you see what you can only assume is a deep gnome riding on a giant spider.
This is a very strange place.
I am assuming for travelers.
One would only think.
Right.
Either that or this is a far stranger land than I anticipated.
It could be that they might have come for similar reasons we have. I think perhaps we should investigate.
Perhaps. It certainly seems that the curse's hold is strong here.
Indeed. She cannot be resurrected. This is gravely worrisome.
Yes, puns are strong with this group.
I think we're going to approach.
Sure.
Yeah, I sort of hang back a little bit and observe.
Okay. Bright Paw. Mayer. I'm gonna butcher that. I'm sorry. Mayer or something. And Nyx. As the three of you have sort of begun the subtle social dance of trying to figure out who each other are and whether you're worth hanging out with, you do see two others that don't really fit with the crowd approaching you from across the street from where you were. One of
descriptions.
Yes, please.
So I'm a court. So they're alabaster skinned, and I also have tendrils from my chin that kind of resemble like an old samurai goatee that I stroke like this ever so often. I'm mostly dressed like a Japanese, like you would imagine a Japanese farmer of the feudal era would be. I got my kimono shirt tucked into a pair of hakama tied in at the shins. My Sleeves are rolled up, and I'm wearing like a straw, like conical hat. The only aspects on my character that don't look farmer is I am wearing a like a sleeveless, just past the knee length, open like Japanese robe that is a bit more colorful, but it's been damaged what seems to be over time and maybe battle. And the very ornate swords that adorn my hips. 3 of them, 2 katanas, 1 on each side, and a wakizashi under the katana on my left hip. And I am currently chewing a reed.
Alright, so Gideon is about 6 feet. He's got dark hair in sort of like a... It's not like a wild mane, but it doesn't look like he... It looks like he forgets when he gets up in the morning to brush his hair out or anything else. He just rolls out of bed. He's in a chain shirt, so it's just a shirt of chainmail, and he's got a sword slung over his back. Other than that, he looks pretty... your standard traveler for the north.
Which means he sticks out like a sore
Yep.
thumb here.
Right.
And of course, hanging back behind the 2 that are approaching.
There's a tall, pale man with with kindly features, except for one of his eyes, which almost seems like it has rotted away, and a black tar-like substance pours from where the eye should be, and where a pupil should be, there is a yellow, glowing light. He too is dressed fairly normally for a northerner, with his armor more sensibly hidden beneath clothes as to muffle the rattling of the chains.
So how do you guys react to each other? Go for it.
We're making more friends? Hi!
Boy, you're real cheerful, aren't you?
Hello.
Yes.
Your mount.
This is Sunshine.
You're
Isn't he beautiful?
He is quite a creature.
I ride sunshine on a cloudy day.
You are very happy. You would
Look
make
at
a
this place.
you would make a good wife for my son. Here you go.
And our first inspiration token has been passed.
What?
He's just
I'm just...
Yeah.
I-
that was still yours.
I passed along yours.
Okay.
Just for one moment.
Okay.
Was she a friend of yours?
I'm so
Oh,
rude.
we.
I don't even
just,
know your
we
names.
just.
My name is Nix, Trillamax, Genfinder. It's so nice to meet you guys.
Oh, I bow. I am Kaiho.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
I am Bright Pot on Clap, but you may call me Bright.
Right. I like that. Okay. Tall dwarf.
You're a dwarf?
You're tall?
Oh, I am very tall.
For a dwarf.
Just don't ask me to take off my boots.
You're just wearing stilts.
Platforms.
Here.
Well,
My name is
Pass
Maya
it back.
Verinos.
That's for Nate. Thank you.
I am a mighty warrior.
I'm sure you are.
everyone who's there, roll a history check.
Oh, jeez. 13.
13?
8.
No.
No.
19.
Yes. You weren't close
7.
enough to hear
Yeah, I
it?
was
No.
gonna say, should I, as I was hanging back?
Yeah, no. So a 7
Yeah.
So you don't. But Nyx, Gideon, you've heard that name before. There was something about almost saving the world, but not.
We almost saved you. Almost saving the world.
Did you?
Yes,
You know
sir.
what? Never mind. Never mind. I'm Gideon.
Something about an uncle.
I couldn't help but notice all of you, except for you. You don't look like you're from around here.
No.
May I ask where you're all from?
North.
I too am from the north, though the Orient.
Oh, I'm just from a small little community out in the west, not far from here. Well,
Pretty far
Pretty
from
far
oh,
from
it might be a
here.
little bit far. I can't remember.
Can't remember.
You can never tell with boats.
Well, may I ask what brings all of you to this place?
I'm a performer and a mighty warrior.
I've heard.
You do a lot of things.
It's a beautiful location.
I'm very talented.
It's a beautiful
Would you like to see me
location.
perform?
I would.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
dear.
let's see this. Indeed.
Says the bard.
I too am a bard.
Yes.
I reach behind me and I pull out like bagpipes of fire.
The only problem with your bagpipes of fire is that they just got wet. So make your performance roll at disadvantage.
Still a net 20.
Unnatural 20 with disadvantage.
Disadvantage.
Wow.
16 and
So you realized real quick that they're wet, and you sort of turned them over and dumped them out real quick, and then flipped them back up and started playing.
I
The-
pull
the-
out my
light fluid to
tambourine.
So the lighter fluid, it didn't exactly go off the way you intended it to, but it was still kind of impressive.
Quick, they actually
Who's
go
on fire?
I just suddenly pull out my tambourine and hold it in my tail.
Make a performance check.
Okay.
Nice. On
The tambourine and the bagpipes. It doesn't get any better than this, folks.
It really doesn't. Oh man, that was not a good. That was not a good roll.
So the dwarf with wet bagpipes does fine. But the cat with the tambourine, no.
I must have my electric spoons.
And you fail.
10. Oh,
10. Okay. You've never played with bagpipes before, so it's a little
Okay.
off-putting,
Okay.
and you're not sure if you're supposed to go along with the drone or what he's actually playing on the record. And so you're back and forth. You're all over the place, but you're doing the best you can.
So as I'm paying attention to these awesome bagpipes, I look over as like noise that I don't know what it is comes from off there. I'm like, excuse me, would you mind? And I go back to paying attention.
Elias,
Yes.
Sploof, and Pyre. The three of you have been tromping through Elias.
Yes, that's me.
So the three of you and your guide, the purple-skinned tiefling, have been tromping through the downpour in what you can only assume is Port Nyanzuru.
I am stomping in every puddle trying to get people as wet as humanly possible.
You're so evil. You are very evil.
You get several dirty eyeballs as people get splashed by you as you walk. You're not 100%. Make an insight check.
Bow before the mighty Sploof.
Oh, this is actually pretty decent. 18 plus 2 is
And that 20.
20.
Unnatural 20. You're almost 100% sure that 3/4 of the people that are giving you a hairy eyeball are doing so not because you splashed them, but for other reasons.
That makes me splash them harder.
You might actually
As
reach out and
you are mid jump to your next puddle when the rain stops. Just completely stops without warning.
Oh,
Yes,
thank
you-
goodness! Blue,
Yes.
I swear I will kill you. If I get wet one more time.
may I assist?
So did you walk in the mud, or did you
No, I
ride in
skirt
the
every
rain?
puddle.
I love your speech impediment.
So the three of you are, after having arrived at the teleportation circle in the Mages Academy South, you have exited the grounds and you are on your way somewhere. You are following your guide. He is leading you deeper into the city. You know not where he leads you. As you're making your way through the city, there is quite a large glom of people in the street looking at something in the street, and behind them there are those racing dinosaurs just sort of milling about, watching what's going on. And what that make all three of you please make perception rolls.
No.
22.
22?
It's not a nat 1, but it's definitely
14?
low.
Okay. So Sploof. Dinosaurs. They would make great minions.
I can train them to be my beasts.
For Pyre and for Elias. You're starting to sort of get a feel for what the typical denizens of this part of the world look like. And there's a large clump of them there looking at something in the street. And off to the side, there's a smaller clump that don't belong here.
One of these things just doesn't
I
belong
Who
here.
cares? We are not alone in our endeavor.
Elias,
This is not like
first,
another.
take note. I think it'll be hard to find clean water. And I'm just going to point to the siphons, the water.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Oh, sorry.
Master.
It's not going to last long here.
Wasn't planning on it.
Well done. Well done.
That said, might we want to skirt around the undesirables?
Oh.
Except I would say yes! But ouch, man.
That is fine.
Oh, wait, except I would see you. If I see you, I'm going to be like,
Is this a goblin queen?
The problem is you didn't see her.
Never mind. Yes, they're skirting the undesirables.
that's right, because I only saw dinosaurs.
You only saw dinosaurs. Sploof got distracted.
Show the Mr. Pyre. I think it would be better if we take people with us as, well, for two reasons.
Do the
Well,
voice.
oh, hold on, sorry, I forgot.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
it would be better to have many numbers with us for safety and cannon fodder. As, well, to be fair, I can run faster than
And I
you.
don't perceive this motion either. Oh
Give this to Brayden.
How close are they?
At this point, make a perception check.
Okay.
For cannon fodder.
For cannon fodder.
13.
13. I mean, they're not
think
trying to be.
Actually, let me. I might have advantage. I don't remember.
Do you think the three of us can go alone in that jungle and survive?
Are you
Of
proposing
course.
to hire these?
What?
Yeah.
Oh,
Are you proposing to hire these?
Okay.
Unless we can get them for free,
13.
13?
then
Okay.
no.
They're not really trying to
Okay.
hide. They're not trying to be sneaky. So yeah, at this point, you're going to see some more Outlanders coming up the street.
At this point, we hear a conversation.
One of them-
if we should be hired or left alone.
One of them, they have a Batiri with them. You would know that as the name for goblin.
Oh man.
Molly, can we please skirt the other non-locals?
Well, I suppose if you want to. Although it looks like that one's noticed you, and he points to the tabaxi. Might not be as easy as you think.
You imbecile! You have drawn further attention to us.
I'm going to roll my.
Make a perception check as you say that.
Nope. It's still a 4.
I like the dinosaurs.
So you're looking at him while you say that, but you're not really looking at him. You're kind of looking past him.
As the
At the
dinosaur ambulance
dinosaurs.
comes by, pick up the dead tabaxi.
However, if you would like to make a perception roll, go right ahead and do so.
Can I make a perception roll to see if I
Ooh.
understand?
I'm gonna use inspiration to re-roll that. That was better. 14.
You can if you want to. Yeah.
What do we do with the extra ones? Do we just put them?
They
in the
go
pile?
to the spending.
Yeah. So they're your
You can
giveaway
count them out.
pile now.
12.
12. Okay. Yeah, you've seen them at this point. What
14.
14? When Sploof addressed Molly, his whole form sort of rippled for a second.
Molly or me?
Molly.
Oh, okay, I was about to say, wait, I rippled!
His whole form just sort of rippled for a second.
I'm going to roll my eyes.
Okay.
Purposely splash a puddle in Pyre's direction and head off towards the
Towards the other non-locals.
non-local.
All right. So, for those of you who are standing around again, doing this whole
Don't you
sort
look
of
up spells?
social, doing this whole sort of social square dance kind of thing in the middle of the street, 4 more
With his playing,
non-locals
I actually
show up. One, they are being led by a purple-skinned, very tattooed tiefling. Then you've got.
It's Fire Genasi.
Who's the-
Yeah, so fire genasi, so kind of reddish orangish, very ruddy. His hair is very orange, yellow, almost has the appearance of flames.
Another soulless one.
You've got another dwarf. Another
Actual size of dwarf.
an actual size. So he's a little bit shorter than you are. And then you've also got a goblin? A goblin carrying a spell book.
And aren't you in like an oversized?
Yes.
I am
Like
in
a
an
robe with the
oversized,
hat and the
yeah.
stars.
Like
Yes.
blue, almost velourish looking, like embroidered robe with
With the
silver
yellow
stars.
star. Oh, silver stars.
Yeah,
Okay.
stars and
I
moons
forgot
all
what
over
I'm
Very Merlin.
it. Very like bad children's costume Merlin.
I can't decide if they don't belong here or if this is just normal.
I turn around as you say that because I haven't noticed yet, and I'm like, oh, they don't belong here.
At this point, the group is close enough, and so the tiefling out front looks at you and says, "None of us belong here."
That is very true.
Still playing my bagpipes, I'm dancing around.
Forgive me, I was caught off guard.
That's the way I normally catch people. You're in good company.
I bow.
Let me guess. You're all here because of the weirdness.
And, and seeing all this, I'm starting to edge closer to the group.
What weirdness would you be speaking of, my friend?
he sort of gestures over to the clump that's now loading the body onto a stretcher. Well, that for starters.
Yes, that.
Someone
Unfortunate.
else.
Unfortunate.
Someone else.
Yes.
What do you know of this weirdness, as you would say?
Well, I know that if there hasn't already, there's going to be a lot of people coming here to try and figure out what's going on. And I kind of like being on the advanced team, as they say.
You've come to the wrong place.
Have I now?
That was a joke.
This is the tiefling.
You're so dry. I couldn't tell.
Yeah.
Yes, this is the tiefling.
He's very wet.
What is
I
your...
pipe up from behind.
He is. Yes, he is. You all are, actually, aren't you? We've all been walking through this rain. That's going to happen a lot, by the way.
That's okay. I brought a hat, and I'm in the process of making my two friends one.
That
Actually, I put yours on your
I'm just
head
licking
as I
my
finish
paw,
it, and I
trying
start
to
on
dry it.
sets.
That could come in handy.
I have my arm under my cloak. So.
Okay.
Nat 20 sleight of hand to figure what he has beneath his cloak.
Natural 20 sleight of hand. Sleight of hand. So you're trying to actually like
Grab it.
So I'm
So you're trying to steal
so
it?
I'm finding out what he's reaching for beneath his cloak.
You trying to hide it?
No. Well, behind under the cloak, yes, but
Yeah.
So make a deception check, please, and roll high. Or don't.
Yeah, that's
fine.
Nope. So what are you trying to hide from him?
In his possession.
My arm.
Ah. So you kind of you sort of
Hold hands.
so you sort of bump up against him as you're forming this circle, and your hand sort of reaches under the cloak, and it's not an actual arm. It feels skeletal.
My hand sort of quickly moves away.
And you felt nothing.
Of course.
So I say, what is? Why are you seeming to be interested in the weirdness?
Well, truth be told, it's not so much me as the person I work for.
May I inquire your employer?
And at this point, he sort of glances around the circle, making eye contact with each one of you. So, damn. Well, that kind of sucks. So he's making eye contact with each one of you. Well, I suppose we could go see her if you'd like.
And please.
That would be appreciated.
Works for me.
All right.
I actually don't know.
And you know, with one sort of last look at the body being bundled off on its stretcher, he continues down the street, sort of back the direction you came from,
Okay.
Nyx, originally. Sort of the direction you guys had been coming from, and the rest of you. What are you
I
gonna do?
paid the bagpipe guy a piece of silver, and I'm not sure who's coming, so I just bow at the group and I follow the gentleman.
Can I make a sleight of hand?
What do you
try
want to do?
What? Okay.
What you trying to do there?
What's his name?
Kai.
Kai. Yeah. What
We
does
haven't
Kai
introduced
have
ourselves,
on? What
but-
does he have on? Like what? Are there any visible items on him?
I have a backpack. I have 3 swords and what else? I guess I have. Yeah, I have a Backpack.
So he's got the
sword.
backpack
And a
and his
hat. I
swords
have a straw
and a
hat.
straw hat. So what you going after? What you trying to do?
I'm gonna let's see. How about one of the pockets
One of the pockets of the bag?
of the bag?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So roll your sleight of hand.
Okay.
And me my perception.
No. This is a static DC.
Gotcha.
16.
Okay. You're trying real hard to be sneaky, but with all the people sort of jostling you, you're trying to get your hand to up one particular pocket on his backpack. You realize real quickly is not going to go unnoticed.
Oh. So I just walk around.
Okay. So
Behind him.
you turn it into this sort of, I'm going to go for the pocket, and no, I'm just going to come around to the other side and walk with you kind of
Yeah,
move.
yeah.
You make it graceful,
Yeah.
but it's not
yes.
what you were intending to do.
Always graceful.
Right. So the purple tiefling is leading you up the street. It's the scene seems to be sort of settling back into normalcy. There are vendors at their little stalls throughout the street, hawking wares, calling out to you, trying to sell you all kinds of things. You see bug repellent. You see something called Tej, which looks really, really interesting. It's this sort of amber-colored liquid that seems to be widely regarded by the people around. It's not super expensive, but everyone seems to want to have a little bit of it. There's, vendors selling, all kinds of adventuring gear. There's vendors who tell you that they can find you the guy to buy the best quality canoes from, the best mining materials from, the best, you name it, pretty much. Someone knows how to get the best of it. Some of them look a little shady. Some of them look on the up and up. It's going to take you a little bit of time. This is a very strange place for you guys. And the smells that are wafting over you are one part floral coming in from the jungles, one part that sort of smell of the ocean and salt air coming in from the sea. You've got the smells of bodies in close proximity, and underneath it all, a subtle maybe waft of something a little less savory, something like undeath that permeates the air. It's subtle, and it's only after you've been here for a good long while that it starts to sort of register with your senses that that's what you're feeling, that's what you're smelling. There's a definite air of decay underneath all of the bright florals and the really, really nice, vibrant smells of the city.
I could raise an army here.
Do you say that out loud?
I kind of whisper it to him.
Okay.
It's not
Whisper
loud,
is
loud.
like trying to be sneaky, or like the
Is this a real whisper or is this a sploof whisper?
This is a spoof whisper.
Okay.
We all kind of like turn around.
You guys are not the only ones. There are a couple of other faces that turn to look at you and look at you with horror.
What?
I back off a step from Blue.
Basking it. Fear me.
I'm not good at that though.
Yes?
Come.
What?
Come.
What?
Keep walking. Keep walking.
How much of your robe drags behind you?
Oh, good.
It's like a human-sized robe.
It's not. It's human child size, so still like a good foot
Yeah.
drags back behind me.
Yeah, not gonna have to cover Sploof's tracks as you go.
As we walk, I'm just like consistently prestidigitation, cleaning off my boots.
Yes, there are occasionally piles of what you can only imagine are dinosaur droppings in the streets. Just like enormous piles of foul-smelling offal.
Reminds me of home.
Really?
So your guide leads you to a quite nice looking. It's not really a mansion as you're used to it, but it is one of the nicest, one of the largest abodes that you've passed in town. He leads you right up to the gate, says hello to the guard as he passes through, and says, "Oh, they're all with me." And the guard looks you all over and nods you through into the establishment, into the house.
Thank you, my good sir.
It is obvious that this is a house that belongs to someone with wealth, and a lot of it. Very opulent settings, silks blowing in the breeze in the windows. There is no glass in the windows because in this environment you want to have as much airflow as possible.
Paradise.
The floor plan is quite open and airy. There are 2 floors, and you do see on top of the second floor another one of the rain catchers that is folded up now that the rain shower has passed. You also see what has to be from a central courtyard, a couple of tall palm trees sticking up through the roof in the middle of the building. So you almost assume there's like a central courtyard that the house is built around where these trees are sticking up. Your guide seems quite at home here. He leads you through a very ornate dining room that's lined with very, very decorated tribal masks that Sploof almost seem to be your size. And there are spears, and there are tribal blowguns and weapons that seem goblin-sized, decorating the walls.
Would this be like a tribe that I would recognize
No.
or something as goblinish?
No, because you're not from around here.
Okay.
But it just strikes you that, oh, I could use those. Those are the right size for me.
Yeah, it's gonna be a 21 sleight of hand. It's not even a shiny, man. It's just, hey. it
What are you
fits.
going for?
You know you want to blow them.
I want a mask.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I want a mask.
I would too.
As you're walking over to the mask to lift it off, a purple hand comes out and smacks yours. That's not very nice.
Rude!
Exactly. That's very rude to steal stuff.
It was made for me, obviously.
You're not Batiri. You're not from around here. Leave it on the wall.
Not the theory?
Fine. You will rue the day that you thwarted.
Yeah. And he continues to lead you through the house, and you guys wind up in the central courtyard.
This goblin keeps making funnies.
In the central courtyard, you find 2 figures. One of them is very much Shulton. A tall, very stately dressed, dark-skinned male. His hair is sort of pulled back into a long sort of drape at his back and tied back with a bright, colorful strip of cloth, red, nix, not blue. He looks so much better in blue, though.
You would.
Beside him, none of you are really 100% sure who or what that is, because it really looks like just a pile of robes. Sitting on top of where the shoulders would be is a silver mask inlaid with filigree and jewels, and the voice that emanates from it is raspy and very, you can't place a gender to it at all.
I instantly bow as if it were a noble, that is to say, on knees and hands.
Okay. My friends. What's that?
He said Chultan Sultan.
And all
Bottom.
Oh, my friends, I didn't, Molly, I did not send you for that many. Oh, I'm sorry. We just sort of ran into some stragglers on the street. I figured many hands make light work, you know. Well, I'm not sure that no, you know what? Don't worry. I'll make it work. Welcome to Schult, my friends.
Why are you whispering?
It is all that my voice is capable of these days.
Oh, sorry, I'll just get closer.
We are in a guest house. Do not be insolent.
So the tall gentleman sort of looks over all of you, and he bows to the figure in the cloak. I will see you later, Mr. Sylvain. Thank you. I will have need of you, as I'm sure they will as well. And he bows himself out, and he exits the courtyard, leaving the group of you, your guide, and the figure sitting in the chair.
Did you bring your spider in?
Yeah. Are you riding your spider?
Yeah.
Unless somebody told me I
Unless
could.
someone told her.
Nobody told you couldn't, so
Yes, I continue to ride.
it doesn't occur to them that your spider is more like a horse for you, and so they just sort of figure
No, I
it's
figured
your normal mode of transportation, so they didn't even stop you. And so you have your spider there with you. I was once much like each of you. I
look pointedly at the goblin.
I look pointedly at myself.
Yes. Well, not the Shulton, just the figure in the robes.
Oh, the other one was
The other one was the Shulton.
Oh.
And you sort of hear the breath rattle in its chest. I once too ventured forth in search of adventure. I made quite a fortune and name for myself, and then decided that I should put that life behind me.
Oh, this is Dr. Black.
Unfortunately, it seems that my former life has caught up with me. I am suffering as many are these days. And a hand reaches out, and it's desiccated, almost it's so withered away as to be barely alive.
Can I get you a drink of water, sir?
The hand reaches up and takes the mask away, and the face that it reveals is also very, very sort of worn, though with years or the ravages of whatever is happening to it, you can't really tell. It does also reveal female features. So she laughs.
Oh no.
It's all right, little one. Many's the time I would have wanted to be considered a male. And as the handkerchief comes away, you do see sort of this thick, mucusy whatever that has been coughed up.
I say, I was blessed with a son.
I'm not real sure where that fits in our current conversation, but...
wishes that she was a male. Or wished she was a male.
Oh,
That's what I was saying.
taken as a... Well, yeah, at any rate, the tiefling leans forward as if to provide support and comfort to this very frail female form. And as he does, his form shimmers and ripples, and the color fades from purple and pink to blue. The clothes melt away into his form. Its form, it's now suddenly very androgynous and very featureless. Anyone, you all have heard stories of doppelgangers. You've never seen one until now. And he leans forward, and his voice is suddenly very different. Mistress, are you all right? I'll be fine. Let us continue our business. I am a woman of means. I am a woman with contacts. I have friends in the harbors who have told me that their intelligence points deep into the jungles of this land for the source of what ails me and the entire world. If I were younger or more healthy, I might even attempt an expedition myself into the jungles. The threat, they say, is from the lost city of Omu. Alas, all my searching has been unable to unearth a location for that fabled city.
Now, would that city be a well-known
Would it-
myth, or
Would it be
Not
something
outside
I-
Schultz.
Would it be something I have?
You would have heard of the city at
Okay.
least. You are not, time, eons have passed. The tales of the city are many, and most of the stories have a location attached to them. But almost all the stories that you know of have been investigated, and the locations have been proven to be false ones. So wherever the city actually is, it's not anywhere that you are going to be familiar with.
What's your good poo? Let me try that again.
Forgive my companion. He sometimes has trouble with words, among other things.
Don't we all? Pardon me.
Do you have anything that could aid us to find this place of which you speak?
I have spent many years consulting many sources, and I have compiled what I believe may very well be the most comprehensive map of Schultz that there is. Unfortunately, that doesn't say much. She turns and she lifts up a leather map case. And she pulls open the top and pulls out a map.
Sorry everyone for the sound.
And that is the map that she pulls out.
Well,
So
That is a very incomplete map.
This is a very incompletely explored continent, I'm afraid.
Well, I suppose that answers my question. I was about to ask, have there been no expeditions that have mapped out more of the interior?
Expeditions, yes, I've financed several myself. Unfortunately, very few return from the jungles. I'm sure your friend there could tell you.
You say very few, but some have returned.
Yes,
What stories do they tell?
there are ravings. They rave of snake people and lizard people. They rave of hordes of undead that roam free of any sort of controlling influence.
Would you say
They speak of fearsome beasts and deep jungles, swamps that are trackless and impossible to navigate. They
you find
speak.
any clout in these ravings?
I do not discount them out of hand. I do believe that some may be exaggerated.
Anything else they speak of?
They speak of human forms with wings that drift over the clouds. They speak of dangers. They speak of her eyes like latch onto you and just bore into you. They speak of 10-foot tall goblins. They speak of these goblins attacking some of the fiercest creatures in the jungle.
I like these goblins. They can be my minions.
Quite.
I just
that's not the
glare. Just silently glare.
He made another
That's really
funny.
Minions.
So in your opinion, where should we start looking for the lost city of Kumu, depending on the map?
We just flip the coin off the map and go there.
Well, as most of the continent is south, I would say that's a good direction to go.
That's sound.
As far as where, there are any number of rumors as to where. Many of them not worth the paper they're written on, or the air used to speak them.
You are an experienced adventurer, you say.
Yes.
What would we need for such an expedition?
She pushes back and leans back in her chair.
I got a little Russian there.
No,
Well,
we're Russian.
for starters, you will need a guide to the tracks and these lands beyond the city walls. there are many such available in the city to be hired. Most have not been outside of a week away from the city's walls. I fear you must go much farther afield than that. You must also be certain of your supplies. There are no other cities or settlements of any kind in the continent. You must take with you what you need. You must travel fast, but you must travel light. Yes, I know the mind goes. Those are the same things. Pardon me. You must be wary, and you must be willing to avoid the fights you can. It is not always the best idea to rush headlong into danger in these lands.
What about expeditions from the sky?
There have been not as many as you would think. I know of only two, one that never returned, the other reported vast swaths of clouds and very little ability to see below them.
How would we know this city of Omu if we stumbled upon it?
It is said that Omu was, in ancient times, one of the most glorious cities in the world. What that means, I can barely fathom. I assume it will be quite ornate. It will be quite extensive and quite obviously a seat of power at some point in its history.
Why is it that people think that the source of this yuck comes from here?
You just gesture to us.
Oh dear.
Never mind.
Most of us have the death curse, so
Are you yucky? I'm yucky.
Do you now?
You have the death.
I am so sorry. How did you die?
Yes.
hold on, I have to remember my backstory. I fought in the Demon War. I was plain, and I pulled back my cloak to show my skeleton hand with the blue aura. And let's just say it took a part of me with it. So,
Well, that's something you don't see every day.
no, I've never seen anyone else like it.
That is not.
How very unusual.
Wait, it has a blue aura?
Yeah.
I say as I slightly wipe my hand.
Yours is there.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Is there a particular guide that you would recommend? One of great talent.
My adventuring days were long done before I moved here. I have not been outside these city walls since arriving in these lands. I know only that all guides are brokered, let's say, by the Prince Jobal. There are merchant princes in this town, you see. Each has their own speciality, and they are jealous of their fiefs. If you want any sort of guide, you must speak to Jabal.
And how accessible is this Prince Jabal?
Well, and she sort of glances out the door that the gentleman that was here with her disappeared through. I do have my acquaintances with the princes. I'm certain something could be arranged.
An audience, perhaps.
Perhaps.
But my question stands.
You must forgive me. I have forgotten. What was your question?
Why do all of the people think that the stuff started there?
My contacts with the Harpers were not forthcoming with that information.
Oh, Harper.
Do you have any other wisdoms to impart upon us before we go on our journey?
There is nothing I can think of right off. The coughs rack her body up and down, and it is several long minutes before she can even take a breath. The doppelganger is there with her, comforting her, supporting her.
I move to the other side and I pat her, and as I do, my hand lightly glows, and the blight in my face actually fades away.
Okay.
Very briefly.
All right.
As I heal her for 3 points. Just trying to ease the pain.
You feel the magics flowing through you into her body. And as you do, you realize that there are no injuries, there's no illness for you to heal. She is simply wasting away. Much like you yourself are.
I've felt it many times trying to heal my own.
Indeed. Yes, you have.
Well, you seem pretty sick, so we should probably go.
She's still racked by coughs, and she sort of waves but nods as though, yeah, that's kind of, that would probably be a good idea.
I put one of my really pretty pieces of blue cloth kind of close to her.
She smiles. She manages a smile for you and nods at you again as she takes the cloth and tucks it into a pocket close to her chest.
You are kind, child. My son would really like you.
I give her a polite bow. Many thanks for all your help.
I also do a bow. So
Yeah,
thank
I
you,
bow
ladies.
as well.
I will do what I can for you.
As we go out the door, I look at everyone and I say,
This is our future. If we cannot stop it,
Ooh.
we must work together and always watch each other's backs.
I don't think you're gonna turn into a girl.
I think he was referring to dying.
The wasting away, child.
She's a child.
Oh, I got that.
What kind of a thing are you?
I'll
No.
put that on mine.
Smurf nibbling. But a gnome.
A what? A Smurf nibbling?
My son will get used to it.
I'm gonna sidle over to Hadrian and, like, out of the corner of my mouth, just be like, "Are we sure this is a good idea?"
You have a better plan. At least there's some safety in numbers, perhaps.
About what time is it?
Maybe we can
Maybe.
recruit others.
So at this point, it's early afternoon.
I have survive these jungles.
I don't think any of these people do.
Yes,
Least
but
of all those two
perhaps
small
in
ones.
this company we
As
might
you're
have
saying
stand
that,
a better chance of getting it.
As you're saying that, a bead of sweat sort of rolls down your face.
My tail
Your
twitches a bit.
armor's starting to get a little heavy and hot and moist underneath.
My tail twitches a bit.
We must.
First, let us find a vendor that might be able to sell me some better suited clothes.
Yes, from a clothes vendor to get us equipped for the weather.
We should all get killed.
No.
How well does it breathe?
Oh, it breathes very
Will
well.
they be matching?
Dude,
Just a reminder, you
Will
shall
they be
never
matching?
climb a tree as part of this.
Also
Forever be climbing things last.
a note, have you ever been somewhere warm and wet?
Not at the same time.
There's a lot of things, creepy, crawly, spider
sort of
things.
things.
Yes.
That might make a kilt less than.
Optimal.
That's a good
I feel
point.
like
That's what we
I,
learned.
I am wearing like light farmer's clothes with a straw hat. I think I'm good.
You're actually, I mean, it's muggy. You're not used to the heat and
Yeah.
humidity,
What
but
about
you're
the
you're
other
not
half of the
you're
weather?
not you haven't broken out in a sweat yet.
Right.
It's like right around. It's one good like exertion away from
Right.
happening.
If you
You
have
can
house,
feel
I'm
it.
used to
You
it.
have
Right.
clothing that repels rain.
If anybody want to kill,
Silk
I'm buying.
jacket.
Like,
I'm with Hadrian. I'm looking for a place where I can get some
You're buying
better gear for this weather.
Oh, I
Alright.
have a kilt. If anybody else would like one.
is that what we're all
Before
doing?
my
Are they
armor starts
matching?
chafing, I'm gonna.
Though.
Well,
Yeah.
mine is special to my hometown.
You can
It can be
wear
close
that. It's just your opinion on how you want to continue this.
Of course, you're perfectly
Oh
comfortable.
no, I'm
Yes,
I'm
I'm
saying for other
perfectly
people. If
comfortable.
anybody else wants a kilt.
I'm used to this.
So what do we find in terms of
I can use
clothing
the
vendor?
environment as well to shield me from the elements.
There are any number of street vendors, obviously, that you've passed by. Some of them have very, very brightly colored, very light
Is anyone
sort
in the group
of
a
fabric
wordsmith?
blouses for sale.
Smith
There's a
or
couple
wordsmith?
of
Someone who's good with-
child-size, bright
I'm pretty good
blue
at talking.
silk shirts
If I'm drunk,
available.
I'm pretty good at talking. And I know the vent. I know most of them.
I'm okay.
I got good
A couple of vendors down from that.
Pretty good charisma.
There's a shop set back into the ground floor of one building that has like very light sort of linen wrap pants that look like they would be very, very comfortable and very, very, sort of airy and let things breathe that need to while still protecting you.
And anti-water, anti-rain gear.
There are places.
Ponchos for everyone.
Ponchos.
Ponchos and
Who
kilts.
needs ponchos?
It's there's not really ponchos. There are
Canvas
like
cloaks.
canvas cloaks that have been treated with looks like maybe whale blubber from the smell of it. It's a little strong, but the
Any of you.
the demonstration is very, very convincing. The shopkeeper holds the poncho out, dips a cup into a barrel of rainwater and flings it at the cloak, and the water just sort of beads up and runs right off it. He pulls it off and shows that his arm has remained completely dry.
Just mildly moist from there.
Yeah.
Just mildly moist from the air, yes. It's
Always.
How are goblins in this kind of environment? Like, am I?
you are getting a lot of side eye.
Well, I meant like,
Humanity-wise.
how do I handle the terrain, environment, all of that kind of
You
stuff?
do have a big robe on.
You are used to the north. So you're descended from a line of goblins that is used to the north. So a lot drier, and a lot more temperate. So you are sweltering just as much as everyone else around.
Especially in those robes.
Especially in those robes.
So what are we looking at?
Don't change your robes.
So for a set of local garments that will keep you relatively comfortable in the heat and the humidity, it's going to be 5 silver pieces a piece for the whole outfit. The cloaks are going to run another 5 silver.
So a gold for.
So a single gold piece to get you outfitted as far as clothing wise.
Gladly paid the gold.
Yeah. I would like to purchase something treated with the same stuff, but I need it to be like a tarp, large, that we could use to store things in.
Okay.
To stay dry.
Okay, you can find one of those for 2 gold pieces, and it'll be about 15 feet on a side.
And I'm going to proffer that to one of our dwarves, whose name I'm spacing. Elias, would you do me the honor of carrying this?
What is it?
This is a tarp with which we can keep dry things dry.
Okay. How much does it weigh?
It's probably gonna be about 3 pounds.
Okay.
I gesture and I say, "This is whale oil."
How many
you
do you
say?
Yes.
How long, when applied to clothing or materials, does it stay?
Depends on how heavy the rain.
Thank you. How much for a jar?
I can give you a jar of the treatment for 2 gold pieces.
2 gold.
Mm-hmm.
That is the last of my funds, but I think it should be worth it.
Passing through the marketplaces, you do also see the vendors. You see the vendors selling local wares. You see a very interesting sort of obsidian bladed weapon. Yeah, it's
long sword, great sword. What are we looking at?
it's nothing. It's
nothing. Ignore it, Brayden.
it's a 3-foot wooden shaft with an obsidian blade that's about 18 inches long. It's called a yakulwa.
A Yagulwa.
Yakulwa. It's sort of like a pole arm almost.
Okay.
How much?
It's 1 gold piece.
What?
I mean,
Is it more than a century old?
no.
Okay.
I'm going to.
It's a stone.
Yeah,
blade.
it's a stone blade on a stick,
So a glaive.
basically.
So I am going to spend my 2 gold for the oil.
Okay.
But it's
And
obsidian.
dipping 2
It is
fingers
obsidian,
and being
which-
very
Good for
careful
my
and
process.
conservative,
It's
I'm
pretty.
going to do
It is
myself
pretty.
up as well as my backpack to keep my backpack as waterproof as possible.
Okay.
I'm trying to keep as much left over as
Okay.
I can for if it washes off.
Okay. So to cover your entire, are you covering your clothes as well?
So I'm
Closed
getting
skin?
my hat and yeah, I'm trying to do the outer.
The outer layer
layers
garments.
of my
Okay.
clothes.
You figure being conservative with it, you've probably got about 5 more uses in the jar.
5 more uses. Okay, I'll take that. Yes. And then I store it in my backpack.
Okay.
I'm also looking for candles, because I can produce a similar effect with a candle by melting
Okay.
wax into the
Candles are easy to find, and you can find them at the prices listed in the PHP.
Gonna use the candle.
Are you
I'm
okay?
assuming I already.
Yeah, we'll do that off
I'm
screen.
assuming I already have most of this.
You're gonna have a lot of it, yes,
Okay.
certainly, and you could guide your new friends into what they actually might
Okay.
need.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, if anyone asks me, then I will be happy.
Right.
I do ask, How easy is it to find fresh water in the forest?
Oh yes, that is a great question.
Well, there's a river.
I mean, there is
It's raining.
obviously there's a
True.
lot.
There-
There's much rain.
So there's a lot of rain,
Yeah.
which is the best source of
It
fresh
is.
water
And it's clean.
because the waters tend to harbor all sorts of bacteria and parasites that are
Okay.
not great for drinking straight.
No.
Has this world been introduced to the wonder of boiling your water before you drink it?
That's a really good question.
Yes.
Okay.
Does anyone have a cauldron? Or a pot?
No.
Just to carry.
I have a bedroll and a water skin.
Yeah, I have a
Um,
water skin.
You guys do notice that there are places that are selling rain catchers as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, I spent the last
I
of my
probably
gold
already have one.
on that oil.
Yeah, so how big are the rain catchers? Like that?
So it's a 5-foot square leather tarp on a wooden frame that can fold up. It forms a basin that can catch about 2 gallons worth of drinking water per inch of rainfall.
I should
It can hold a total of 8 gallons.
And how much are they selling that?
1 gold piece.
A side note, what does everyone have equipment-wise?
Oh.
Should we have a list of generalization of how much we have?
How much can I
I
carry?
think most of us got water
A
skins.
total of
Right.
50 pounds.
What are you at?
I can't remember.
Um,
So it's 30 pounds for the pack, right? And then I need it's 3 for longsword, right? Yeah. So
So
that'll
just
be
real quick,
6 more,
does everyone go around and
then
just
one
tell
scimitar.
what exactly we have so we know what everyone has so we can equalize? Or not listen to me, that's fine.
3
I'm
pounds.
listening. I'm just
I'm
trying
sorry,
to figure out
one
where it
second.
is.
No, scimitars aren't 3 pounds.
I have
How
to
heavy
check
was
today.
the rain catcher?
It's a 5-foot square. It weighs about 5 pounds.
And how much did that glaive weigh?
Oh, no, I can use 16 pounds. I have 12
da-da-da-da-da.
Okay.
We'll buy one, a rain catcher to use, but you should.
Probably about 2 pounds.
For some use, yeah.
Keith, I'll take it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll carry your.
It deals a D8, 1d8 piercing damage. And although it does have the thrown property, it is not well balanced. So its
I have 30.
so its range is thrown. So its range is 10, 30.
So I'm at 49.
I might not buy it then.
49 ounces.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm
I'll
getting
buy a
on the
rain
brink
catcher
of how
if
much
you
I
wanna
can carry
carry it
without.
Yeah.
gotcha.
I have a 16 strength.
I'm at
so-
58.
I have shame.
13.
So let's see.
You have
16
16
times
times
5.
So
So I have
6 times.
I'm a very
30.
65.
So that's how much you
methodical
can carry
person,
without
and I have a list of all that I have on me. So I have an explorer's pack, navigator's tools, a miner's pick, traveling clothes, shovel, map case, lantern bullseye, 10 flasks of oil,
Jeez.
another map case that I need to figure out what that's for, crowbar, 2-man tent, silk rope, and a waterproof tarp. And I'm at 143.5 pounds.
Well, they're
Yeah,
having
you're
a
way
powwow
over.
talking about.
Oh no,
their
yeah, I'm over the
carrying.
first
I'm gonna ignore
barrier.
them.
I still
I'm
have
going to cast as a ritual. I'm
16 and a
gonna
half
put
more
my,
pounds I can carry.
Uh,
So,
Tender's floating
Wow.
disc,
Tinser's floating disc.
and I cast that on my owl, who I then keep out a little ways in front of us,
Okay,
so that I just float along.
just kind of floating along. So everyone make a perception check real quick.
Although I won't tell them that probably.
That will be a 10.
I got
10?
an 18.
18?
So it's
No.
Perception. Unnatural 20.
Unnatural 20? Yes.
12.
Yes.
14.
Yes.
15.
Yes.
One.
I also
No.
have 2.
So the two of you are discussing
Right,
inventories.
apparently we're discussing.
And everyone
I'm
else,
also.
suddenly Pyre is just sort of floating along next to you guys.
Yes. I hop onto the sensor's floating
The
disc.
moment he's on though, he's getting cleaned.
Okay.
Maybe.
That's fresh air. That's what that smell is.
And the rest. It's awesome. Added inspiration.
So as you're passing through,
No inspiration to give out.
as you're passing through the marketplace, you do also see that there are.
Oh, did you get your 2 inspiration to pass out now?
Yeah.
So as you guys are passing through the marketplace, you do also see, you see stands selling more Tej, Tej. You do see places that are selling insect repellents.
Oh.
And I do inquire about the Tej.
Okay.
Yes.
You take
why local?
So the shop owner, sensing perhaps a sale imminent, pushes a canister towards you and opens the top. As you lean down and smell, it smells like there's sort of a honey undertone, something very floral, but also very fermented.
Nice.
How much for a bottle of Tej?
1 gallon cask will cost you 2 silver pieces.
Nice.
I'd like to inquire about the insect repellent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was actually going to say, since I helped you carry your items, can you help me with insect repellent? I am out of funds.
No problem.
Thank you, sir.
It comes in 2 forms. You can get blocks of incense to be burned, or you can get a gourds or vials of sort of salve that you can apply. The incense will burn for 8 hours and will repel insects within a 20-foot radius.
Nice.
The salve is also good for 24 hours and is waterproof, so it doesn't wash off in the rain.
Oh.
How much is the salve?
The salve, 1 silver piece will get you a vial with 20 applications of it.
Okay.
How much does each vial weigh?
Negligible.
So,
I mean, if you got like a dozen of them, it might weigh a pound.
Seth, about this time I finished your straw hat.
I gladly put it on. This is very comfortable, Fred. Thank
How
you.
much would be for like
you are
5 of
welcome.
those vials?
Each vial is a gold piece. So 5 gold pieces.
Of the salve?
Mm-hmm.
And how long
How
is
much?
it? How long does he say? How long does he say it lasts?
The incense, the block is
Oh.
a silver piece.
Okay,
Block,
so it's
silver
the
piece.
blocks.
Yeah, the vials or the salve is a gold piece.
I'm gonna
Mode of
take-
transportation.
No, I will take 5 of the slab.
Of the salve.
Yeah,
Okay,
so.
cool.
I got you a vial of
I will
salve.
take
Awesome.
these 2.
Thank you.
Okay,
So,
Cool.
I got
I will
Everything
take
in
a
the range
block
of
of
mode
the
of
sa- or the-
transportation.
we'll get to that in just a second.
Okay.
Anybody else
So
dealing
I
with this?
also pick up a vial of salve.
Okay, cool.
I will take a block.
You'll take a block of the incense.
I
Okay,
will take
Yeah.
a block and
And
a
I will-
vial.
okay.
And I will
he
take
bought-
a gallon of the
Of Tej.
Tej. How
Okay.
much does that weigh?
It's 1 gallon, so whatever, like a gallon of
So like
liquid.
2 pounds.
It's
Yeah,
in the
about 2
player's
pounds.
handbook.
Yeah.
Lance bought me a vial, just so you know.
And how much
Okay.
does the block weigh?
The block of incense. It actually doesn't say. No, it's not going to be that
No.
much.
It's
I'm
gonna
going to
be
say it's
like-
probably about a half
My,
pound.
Okay.
My dice.
Oh, this?
That thing, yes.
I have 14 gold.
I would also like to procure a man's height shirt appropriate for this place.
Okay, so
Just the shirt.
just the shirt. Okay, so
Just a
Because-
shirt.
so that'll be 2 silver pieces.
Man, what else? It'd be nice to have like a mule or something.
That I'm trying to inquire about that right now.
Okay.
So rude. I'll understand that a half dwarf is called a
Why do I have 2 map cases?
What did he say?
I understand that.
How much weight can the spider carry?
Oh, I can get rid of a pound.
Half door?
Does your spider have saddlebags?
Yes, it does.
Well, that's
Oh,
amazing.
nice. Okay, I'm gonna have to get rid of that because I don't need. I already
Because
have
I'm a
it.
no.
So Braden,
Yes.
make me an investigation check, please.
Okay. I have critical intelligence. Good.
So how much does the ring
Investigation?
cost?
5 pounds.
19.
They weigh 5 pounds.
19.
19? Okay.
Yeah, I
Um,
have enough.
So you make some inquiries through the marketplace, and you do see you do get pointed in the direction of a sort of set of
Give you some of my weight.
high pins that have been erected away from the main thoroughfare and away from the noise, or as much away from the noise as you can possibly get in a city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Approaching it, the smell of, well, animal
Manure.
manure starts to become a little bit more stronger, a little bit more pungent, a little bit fresher as you approach. Yes.
If he gets anywhere close enough where he's like walking by manure, I mage hand and I'm tripping him into the manure.
Oh, me.
How stealthily are you doing?
Make a. You know what? Make me. Make a dexterity save versus your spell DC.
Oh, okay, so my DC.
I'm going to spend an inspiration.
Okay.
What is my DC?
You really don't want to fall in that manure.
No one ever wants to.
No one wants to fall in manure.
I had this written down.
14?
Don't recall DC.
DC.
What's
Whatever
your
your-
intelligence mod?
It's your intelligence mod plus your proficiency.
For your
Plus eight.
proficiency
Plus
plus 8. Yeah.
3 plus 2, so 5 plus 8 is going to be
13. He rolled a 14. So you reach out and you trip him, and he's able to sort of. You're not real sure what you tripped on, but you tripped, but you're able to catch yourself before you landed face first in that pile of Triceratops droppings.
I stand up. Why did you attack him?
Cobblestones on the is it a cobblestone street?
It's a cobblestone street.
That's what I think it is.
Okay.
Why did you attack our comrade?
I did no such thing.
Roll deception.
Make a deception check.
I'm not trying to
I don't think
deceive.
he's trying to hide.
Like,
Oh. Okay.
I didn't technically attack him. All I did was try to trip him because he
Why?
splashed. Because I prefer not to be dirty. He understands that and chose willfully to push that line.
He's an asshole.
I'm beginning to sense that.
As I said before, we end up like that poor wretched woman in there if we do not work together. That means we work together.
It helps with morale.
Together. We are understood, aren't we?
Yes, and you can be my army when I take over the world.
I just love you.
Over the world?
You're adorable.
Why do people keep telling me that?
Take over the world? Are we
Of
not
course.
here
From
for
now
some reason?
on,
It's a term of great respect.
from now on, your
Explain-
name is
Explain
Sploof,
to me
correct?
how you want to go about doing this.
Mighties.
Sploof the Mighty. From now on, Sploof the Mighty is the only one allowed to do evil.
Excellent!
You have no idea what you just unleashed.
Wow.
What are your plans for taking over the world? Do detail them.
So
Yes, this is like a-
you do. So you do approach the merchant after narrowly avoiding falling in dino doo-doo.
Yes.
And you inquire as to what you can find, and he's got quite a number of specimens in the pins behind him.
Okay.
He asks. He's sort of tall, very thin gentleman. His hair is sort of flyaway, just sort of unkempt, very dark. He's bare-chested, but wearing sort of the voluminous, sort of linen pants like what you and your companions just procured. He's got a belt wrapped around his waist, and on one hip he's got a a sort of wicked-looking dagger, and on the other he's got a bullwhip. What can I help you with, my friend?
I was hoping to procure a mount for myself.
Oh, we have those, certainly. One of such of your stature,
Calm the cringe. I'm not offended.
you might. Excuse me. Let me make sure of something here real quick.
Just know you're gonna have to take like a mortgage out on your house to afford one of these.
I don't have a house. I don't have a house.
So how much is it for?
I don't know yet. It's forthcoming.
It's not gonna be cheap.
I can give you a Hadrosaurus.
Show the what now?
If I had an
I don't have any
inspiration,
inspirations.
I have spent my already given all mine.
It's awesome.
And
A Hadrosaurus. Let me make sure that it's
Do I know
actually.
what Hadrosaurus is?
No. I love you, Braden. That was awesome.
Your voice is just the best. I know you were
So-
going for Sean Connery, but the
I gave up on that.
Good grief.
speech impediment's better.
What happened over there? What happened?
And I'm gonna have to.
It's okay?
It might be in the other one.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking. Well, it might be actually.
I think Vol has other input as well.
Yeah, it does.
RP while the DM figures out what stuff.
If you want to look it up for yourself.
Well, he's figuring that out.
I think that's the one I was looking for anyway.
Never mind.
Only 100 gold pieces.
Oh, only.
Only.
You would perhaps prefer the Triceratops? That's 500.
You can buy a Triceratops.
Oh, a Hadrosaurus. How about alone? What?
Ask him how much it
I
is.
doubt that people give credit in this city.
Yeah. Okay.
It's worth a shot.
What's a hat? Does it show a picture? No, it doesn't.
Oh, dang it.
I'll look it up on my phone.
Yeah. Hadrosaurus. Yeah.
Steven, you should really make a perception check.
It's
What's
a
your
semi-quadruple herbivore recognizable by its bony head crests.
12.
Alright.
If raised as a hatchling, it can be trained to carry a small or medium rider.
Oh, it's basically Ducky from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How big is it?
It can carry a medium-sized creature, so you would be able to ride it.
If I sold all of my possessions.
I doubt you'd
How
still
much?
come up with.
Well, hold on a sec. Let me do
100.
some math.
100 gold pieces.
Yeah, no, I don't think any of us have 100 gold pieces.
No. The,
You're
No.
a level 3 character.
I
Yeah.
almost have one.
With Find Familiar, I can.
Okay.
Larger.
What?
No.
Okay.
They're-
I
no.
almost could afford it.
You summon
If
summon
I sold
a
some
creature
stuff.
that takes the form of. So you summon like a fae or a. What is it? It's a fae,
A fae,
or
a
a
fiend,
fiend,
a
or a
celestial.
celestial spirit, basically, that takes a physical form of a creature.
And then
So what is
there's-
it?
There's like
What
a
is it?
mouse or a
Here.
snake or
What is it?
And that's
I
what
have
my.
this though.
Yeah, that's what rat is. That's what hemorrhoid is.
Right here.
Oh, it's
Okay.
Find Familiar.
May I suggest perhaps the lady, our benefactor, might fund some of our expedition if we were to ask.
Oh yeah.
That's a good idea.
Perhaps.
Who shall be
I might be able to afford it if I
a
sold some
very,
stuff.
very important.
Let's
But-
see if let's find some help.
Yes, I'm just gonna mark that as possibilities.
we may have to come back to you, good sir.
Yes.
He looks somewhat disappointed.
No, I actually, let's see, what was the name of the lady that we had met?
Mistress.
Sploof?
Something
Is-
with an L.
Make a perception check, please.
Mistress Sylvain.
Mr. Sylvain.
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 No, wasn't that the Chilton?
18.
Oh.
18?
You see, Mistress Sylvain has. You see, Mistress Sylvain has been so kind as to encourage hard adventure. And,
I don't know who that is.
a shame. She is a lady of some renown.
Gosh dang it, why did I spell Mistress?
And of no
Mistress.
small
I'm
means.
quite rich.
She is rich.
Well, that is a shame. So 2 things happen at once at this point.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Oh.
First, out of the sort of throngs of people passing by in the street, you see this old crone with not a tooth left in her head come stumbling out of the flow of traffic
Stumble.
Where does she keep her teeth?
and latches onto your arm.
Ooh!
You can smell the tej on her breath as she leans in,
You got a new girlfriend?
and
Lucky.
she doesn't yell, but she's not keeping her voice down either. But she leans into your face and just sort of overwhelms you with the smell of her breath and the smell of her body and the smell of life on the streets. And she tells you,
I back away a little bit.
"The Ancient One, beneath the Forbidden City, gives birth to a terrible new god. The Snake Men know! They know!" And then, as if she had said nothing at all, she lets go of your arm and she turns and she melts back into the flow of people.
I step back close to Seth. And I
Either
go,
that is maddening or profound. I can't decide which.
as I step back, I go, "You stink like a sex."
Meanwhile,
Sex have you
Sploof.
been having? One has never smelled anything
Meanwhile,
like
Sploof.
Yes.
As you are watching this old beggar lady disappear into the crowd, your eye is drawn across the way to another vendor that seems to be selling canoes.
Oh, yay.
Canucks.
Who was it last time who said when they heard canoes they thought like K-A-N-O K-A-U?
That was me.
Kazoo.
The slide whistle.
I toddle over to the canoe salesman.
We could just
and
ride over.
Hop off. Oh, okay, that works too. Also, you missed that.
No, I heard.
Oh, okay, you heard. I'm sorry, I wasn't gonna do it, but they convinced me that it would make them follow me, so I did it. So I hid some Triceratops shit in Pyre's sack.
Oh no!
Sleight of hand was mighty with this one. So
After some very quiet
Convincing from us.
convincing,
yes. So yeah.
making sure that it
Sorry,
seemed
man.
like
Sorry.
Spoof's idea. to do
Yes.
this.
Okay.
Hey, Sploof.
So yes, I'm going to go over.
I understand you have kazoos for sale.
Canoes. Canoes.
Oh, my mistake. Canoes. Canoes. How much would you charge for a canoe?
Ask him if he'll play it for a demonstration.
I do at least know what it's
George,
for.
hand this to George.
Well, each of my handcrafted canoes can carry 6 people and is worth 50 gold pieces.
There's 2 of them. Wait, how many?
How much are they?
50. 50 apiece.
You're gonna need
So-
like 200 gold pieces for this expedition.
We
That
don't,
we
we
just
don't
need
need to have a
really
sword.
two
We just
canoes.
need,
Yeah.
if we took 2 canoes, we could just take the river down to Camp Vengeance and then check out Mimbala, see what's there, and then head southward more.
Okay, so either way, we'll need it.
As a
I think we should
idea.
go talk to Mistress Sylvain and see if she's
Yeah.
able to provide any sort of funds for this expedition. And while canoes are great, they're a pain to carry when they're out of the water.
Should you and I go do that while the rest shop?
We can, yeah.
Alright.
Perhaps we wait a moment.
Yes.
A nice pastry and
Agreed.
local.
We thank you for your.
I try a small tip of the tej.
Yeah.
Just the tip.
It's quite strong. It's very tasty, and you can see why the locals seem to prefer it to ale or beer.
Well, that I shall have to remember for when I go home. As I sort of stow it away.
Oh, I don't know if it has anything on sake.
So it sounds like
So what's
Kai
happening?
and I are going to see Mistress Sylvain.
Yeah, we're gonna split off and
Okay,
see if we can
I'll
make
go
an
with you.
appeal.
okay.
Okay, and the bard's
Yeah, I
coming
go.
with us.
And the bard's going with you as well?
Awesome.
So what are
Anyone else
the
coming?
rest of you guys doing?
Find somewhere to have a nice meal.
Finding rations and
Oh,
like I'll
rations.
get one
What's
of the
everyone's
rain
ration
things
count
too.
at the moment? Just
I have
so-
5.
Well, I have nothing right now.
Okay.
10.
Okay. I'm with Sploof.
Okay, so you're with Sploof,
Yeah, so
checking
we
on
should
another
get a
rain
bunch of food.
catcher
oh.
thingy. Okay.
So how much are rations?
Whatever the PHB listing is
rations
for them.
are.
Aren't they like copper?
Sorry, I'm doing math. They're like 2 silver pieces each.
Oh, really? That's
And each one is 2 pounds. So
So
10
it's a
is 20
decent amount.
pounds. So
Jeez.
I had to do the math for the.
Each thing of rations is enough rations for a day.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Well,
so multiple
excellent.
meals.
Yeah.
So I'll get like
yeah, if you get
Yeah.
more.
I want to wander around and see if perhaps there's a guide of what is edible. In the forest.
Hmm.
Yeah, what you can hunt.
Okay.
That's a good idea. I
Okay.
like that.
Find a book.
I'll get some rations, but
You
I think
know,
they would
Okay.
do that as
You
well.
could
Let's
ask
just make
me.
jerky out of everything.
That is
Exactly.
true.
Danny, that's not gonna be
That
good.
is true. Like, do you know?
Though with the
I-
moisture, I doubt it would jerky very well. True.
I'm intelligent. I'm just not wise. So with the intelligence, I'd imagine. Let me see how smart I'm feeling today. If I would think to ask the Shulton, I would think to ask the Shulton.
Okay.
Do you know the ways of this land as far as what can be eaten and what cannot? Are there babies on the way?
Okay.
You might want to start with the first question.
Or, you know,
yes,
small
there-
animals?
Yes, there are a variety of small prey animals.
And babies.
And
Are they filthy? I like the filthy ones.
yes, there are some that are quite filthy.
She'll you just find in the jungle.
Are there other
Anything that
eatsy
moves.
things? Do you know the
Um,
eatsy things?
Well, I mean, there's a variety of eatsy things. There's a variety of plants. You just have to be careful.
I imagine Sploof eats everything raw.
Yes.
And when Sploof finds us like with the food over the fire, she's like, "You're gonna burn it!"
Don't burn the meats.
Yeah, I was thinking.
But I mean, I feel like there's a decent amount of edible things. At least for me, there is.
You're not that different.
All right. So
She said to the one covered in fur.
Yeah.
so Gideon and Hadrian, was it?
No, and Kai.
Oh, and Kai.
Yeah.
Meyer.
And okay. So Gideon and Kai and Meyer, you're headed back to Mistress Sylvain. Okay. You do get back. You are recognized by the house guard, and you're ushered into where she is resting
I bow once more.
by the fireplace.
Sorry to bother you again, Mistress, but we were wondering if we could ask for your aid.
If I can assist you in any way, I shall try.
We are attempting to procure passage and a means of transportation through the jungle, but unfortunately, with what meager sums the rest of us brought with us here, we lack the funds necessary to find a speedy mode of transportation. We were hoping perhaps you might be able to help
I
us.
flip my purse inside out.
I see.
I do apologize. I had hoped to find this myself.
It's quite all right. How much are you requiring?
Hang on a minute while Lance does some math.
All of it.
So that was 200 gold for each dinosaur, and there are 9 of us.
No, a hadrosaur can carry one medium creature.
Right.
So it's basically a horse.
Right.
500 for a big one, and I don't know how much the big one could carry. We didn't
Triceratops?
ask.
Yeah, the Triceratops probably going to be 2 riders and some gear.
Yeah. Whereas the canoes are 50 each, so we would need 100
And
for
it's
each
But
of
the
us.
canoes confine us to a river.
Yes.
The
Yes.
dinosaurs do
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
But then we have to feed the dinosaurs.
Ooh.
We have a
True.
He makes a very good point.
We have a
You have to
There's
feed
also
and
things-
water the dinosaurs.
Why do you always? Your characters always try to feed me to things. Why?
They're
200 gold
Gives you
for
little-
canoes.
No one would eat sploof. Let's be
mean
honest.
pork?
That sounds reasonable. Is there anything else?
Yes, we were wondering if you could arrange for a meeting between us and the merchant prince Jabal, so that we might have a guide, and if you could finance the guide as well, that would be much appreciated.
I suspected the meeting would be required. I have already put the wheels in motion for that. As far as financing it, I should be able to scrape something together. I assume you need the 200 now.
That would be most helpful.
Molly, if you don't mind. And she motions to this sort of short, dark-skinned Sholton woman who's standing there, and when she speaks in the voice that you recognize as the doppelganger. Certainly, mistress. And she turns and walks out of the room.
It's awesome.
And is gone for several minutes. When she comes back, it hands you a little pouch that jingles, and it has the 200 gold pieces in it that you
Should
require.
I play my bagpipes as a thank you?
I don't think that's necessary.
I would ask the maiden.
The poor woman is dying. Let's let her rest in peace.
I think she would like a.
I thought he was talented. I thought he was quite talented. Why don't you ask her if she would like to hear music from a foreign land?
Let's not speed up her.
Yeah. Let's
not put her
make
in
die
more
faster.
pain.
She just gave us 200 gold. Let's just leave before she gets back.
Let's leave before she takes
I'm going to message you.
Okay.
Okay, so just him. I'm gonna message him.
Okay.
If she dies, we got more stuff to sell.
Oh my god.
What a terrible human being.
I'm pretty
You're supposed
sure
to be
that
like a
1,
hero?
we don't get this. 2, she's paying for us to go on this mission. If she dies, there's no one to pay us at the end.
More stuff to sell.
Absolutely not. Let's go.
And a classical Nate moment.
Did you wonder why being a hero didn't work out for you so well?
I know my character is supposed to be good, but yeah.
But unfortunately, you
Are not.
Doesn't know how to play.
So the DM changes your alignment.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm trying.
first session in, you're a chaotic neutral.
It's just
Selflessness.
Selfless.
That's how you be good.
I'm on a learning curve.
So those of you that went and found cash, do catch up with the rest of the party back in the marketplace. What are you guys doing?
So while they're gone,
Okay.
can I find a magic shop or somewhere? I'm looking for iodine.
Iodine.
I
Okay.
take a shot. Get some invisible thread
Yes.
Would I know where?
Make me an investigation check.
Actually,
Would I know where any?
can I use one of my portent rolls on this?
Sure.
15.
15.
Nice.
Very nice.
Oh, 22.
22. Very nice.
Very nice.
If he had told you what he was looking for, but again,
No one wants
no one's asking the local
No,
yet
no one
anything.
has asked the local yet.
So you are able to sort of make some discreet inquiries, and after you do that, and you sort of shake off the rest of everybody else, and you go off and you find a little shop in just down an alley somewhere.
Does he reach into his bag?
The front of the shop looks to be a bookshop, so just regular, mostly mundane books. The further you go deeper into it, the more they start to take a turn towards more magical topics, and it's not until you get to the very back wall behind the counter that you start to see books that are actually magic books. And standing there behind the counter is just, again, what you've come to associate with Schultz. Dark skin, very brightly dressed, rather old male. He's got the start of a he's got sort of a thin goatee that's starting to go gray, kind of like where mine is. He's starting to have a little bit of a receding hairline here, and there's lines on his face that could be either laugh lines or study lines. You're not real sure which. And in the dark and sort of gloom at the back of the store, it's really hard to sort of discern an age for him. Can I help you, sir? Yes.
I need iodine.
Do you now? And what exactly would you use iodine for, my friend?
We will be shortly lacking in the comforts of a city. And water, of course, mixing with the semi-magical properties of iodine, it can be cleansed.
You're not wrong. Give me one moment. He waves his hands, and you see a magical wall of force pop up right over the top of the counter and blocking off the passageway to the back. Completely blocks off any of his magical items that you might be interested in. And he turns and he steps through a thick, sort of dark velvet curtain.
Okay.
Into the back room. As you peer through as he goes, the back is in pitch darkness. You can't see what might be beyond the curtain. He disappears behind it and is gone for a couple of minutes, and then the curtain parts and he steps out of the darkness and he drops the wall of force and he sets a vial, and then a second vial, and then a third vial on the counter in front of you. And they're all identical, and they all appear to be what you're looking for.
Perfect. How much for the lot?
Each of these vials is worth 10 gold pieces, my friend.
Ooh. How much gold do you have now?
You had a sneaky goblin friend.
Scritch isn't here.
I know, right?
I'm not sure if it's your characters or if it's you.
To be fair, Danny does get ensorcelled by shiny things too.
True. But in this case, it's just evil, so I would do it.
Can you even reach the counter?
I wouldn't think to do it
You even
myself.
reached the counter?
But if you asked me, it would seem like a good idea working up to the degree of evil I aspire to.
Right.
Swift, can you
I
even
do not,
reach the counter?
unfortunately, have the funds
I
to purchase a bottle. However, I would be willing to trade a bottle for a book procured in, in the Plane of Fire, in the city of Brass.
Glass.
Interesting. You have this book on you, you say?
I do.
Reach into the bag.
You don't have to.
No, he does. He's opening his bag.
Oh no.
Oh, I'm gonna kill every one of them.
Does anyone have inspiration?
Just imagine that
How
smell.
how many drops would I have to put into water to do either?
What's that? It doesn't take a whole lot.
Yeah, it doesn't take a
And
lot.
How many uses per bottle? I'm with him.
You put him.
Oh, are you?
I thought we were all together. So.
No, he left
everyone.
everybody.
Oh, okay.
himself.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Kill every one of them.
So I'm going to start casting prestidigitation, and making the
course.
movement big because
Right.
I want it to be seen as like illusion. One moment, some of my companions are infants.
Time only short.
Pull out a book. So this is the book that it comes with my class that I've studied.
Okay.
So this is a book on those of my ancestry. I'll hang it over.
Don't you need that?
I'm just gonna flip through that. Oh, such secrets.
Too bad I already have 3 copies.
This is more than adequate for all 3 bottles.
Oh, good.
I do thank you, and should we have the fortune to return to the city, your patronage and your service will not go unremembered.
Very good, sir. Each of those bottles has 20 uses. That's why they're expensive, guys. Come on.
Well, he's doing
Yeah.
that.
So, make a perception check.
Okay.
Gross.
Actually, anyone that's with you, anyone that's there, that's still in the marketplace, can also make the perception check.
Perception check?
For
19.
perception check for just general.
Just general perception
19.
check.
13.
13?
Although my passive is higher.
Nat
19.
20.
Natural 20,
19.
19.
18.
I got
18.
a 23.
Yeah, that's a 4.
That's a full.
There's a lot of really pretty blue fabric floating in the breezes.
I got a 23.
23? Okay. Where's Pyre? You've lost somebody. He's not around anymore.
Such a shame.
Yeah, such a shame.
He's my right-hand man. Where has my companion gone?
Yes, why don't you go looking for him?
Oh, good.
I love this party. Oh my god, I love this party.
I shall.
I said.
Yeah, pretty much, probably. There's just this little hat tip walking through the crowd.
You will not be missed.
Make an investigation check at disadvantage. You're short and you don't know the city.
All these ankles look the same.
This is
Make
is
an
going
investigation.
to be
Yes.
a one shot
At disadvantage.
Surprisingly, it's actually a 15.
15?
That didn't suck.
That's actually okay. It's just enough, in fact. So you kind of sort of manage to follow the smell of dinosaur droppings.
I recognize that.
And you bump into him literally as he's coming out of a shop.
These little goblin feet sticking up.
Little explosion of glitter.
My most valuable minion. I have found you. The others will be pleased.
Did you have something to do with that?
With what?
You haven't even washed your hands.
Nope.
Braden,
Yes.
make a perception check.
Okay. You see a mushroom cloud in the distance.
That's a 7. Hold on, I'll spend an inspiration.
No, you're fine. I just didn't want to.
Oh, that's better. Unnatural 20.
Unnatural 20. Look out!
I duck.
Make a dexterity save, please.
Cocked. Inspiration 1.
Oh dear.
I am about to die.
Oh my god.
So you hear the voice, duck, or look out.
Look out.
And your first instinct from all the years in the mines and all the years of being in battles and all the years of being in danger, your first instinct is to throw yourself on the ground as far away from where you are right now as you can possibly get.
I don't get far.
Well, no, you get plenty far. The problem is you have thrown yourself under the incoming like barrels that were being dropped from overhead.
Oh no.
It just got Looney Tunes up in here.
Time to take some damage. First damage of the game.
On barrels.
And you die.
Here comes our first party kill.
Die.
You die.
Oh,
The
no.
terrible nasty death.
Death by barrel.
You take 11 points of bludgeoning damage.
Wow. Like, do I even have that much actual health right now?
I have an 18.
Okay, the insurance claim on this is.
I'm alive.
The insurance there.
Was that more than half of your current hit points?
Oh
No.
No. Okay.
I was 1 away.
Only just. Okay. Everyone else that is in the marketplace, you hear someone shout, "Look out!" You see this dwarf fling himself onto the ground underneath these falling barrels, almost like he's trying to maybe catch them, protect something else, kill himself. We're not real sure what.
It's insurance fraud.
Everyone else, make me please make me a perception check.
That will be a 9.
No,
Can I?
I got a.
no, you're distracted.
I got a 19.
19.
16.
Okay.
Okay.
No.
4.
No.
16.
Yes.
Sploof, are we back?
No. Sploof. Actually, you and Pyre are not there.
Oh, I don't.
Oh,
Jeez.
So I've got a no. Yes, I believe. What was?
Yeah, mine was yes. Yeah.
And what was your?
Am I
Oh,
there?
you're not there
I'm
yet.
not there.
You and I are there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're not there. So you are the only one who sees slinking away from the place where the rope holding the barrels up looks like it has been maybe cut. You see a figure slinking away that has, if you didn't know better, you'd say it was it's not possible. That's a human being, except it's got some very serpentine features. And that's where we're going to call it for the night.
Can I make a note?
What's that?
The whole way back to the party, I just cast Unseen Servant, and it is just dragging Sploof behind me.
Okay. Excellent. Sounds good.
Excellent.
That's our show for tonight, guys. We hope you enjoyed it. Please check back with us. Our regular schedule will be Tuesday nights starting at 5:30 Mountain Time. I'm not going to run through all of the time zones. It is 5:30 Mountain Time. Hopefully the math is not too hard. You guys can figure that out. We hope to have you back. Please give us a follow. Give us tons of likes. We're new to this. We're hoping to make it something really, really cool and really, really big. Thank you for coming along with us. You guys have a very, very good night.
I just saw in chat that there's somebody who plays Adventure League on Tuesdays. Is it our intent to put this out on YouTube afterward?
Absolutely, yes. We will be also posting to YouTube as well. I'll get all that information onto the Twitch channel. We're still very, very new at this. I'm still trying to set all of that up, so we'll get all that out there for you guys.
Thank you guys for watching.
Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good night.